Alright, section 12, chapter 12, section 7. Chapter 12, section 7. Alright, armor plate welding cutting. Armor plate is used for the protection of the personnel with equipment with combat tank, self-propelled gun with the other combat vehicles against the destructive force of the enemy projectile. The fabricated form of the casting and roll with plates, the selected with the heat treat for the turn to develop the desired structure protective properties for the industrial manufactured gun turns combat tank hulls, included design with a one-piece casting welded assembly with a cast section rolled plate within certain sections. Cast section armor are bolted into the plate for the expected with the requirements of maintenance of the railroad unit replacement Welding has replaced riveting in the format process of the structural armor fabrication. Riveting, however, is still used in some vehicles to protect face hardening armor. The development of suitable technique for welding armor plate is continuously upon with a clearing understanding of the factors affecting weldability. Armor plates are structural soundness of the weld, the ultimately ability to withstand the force of impact, penetration, and service from the standing point of the field require welding. These considerations can be resolved in the factors outlined. Knowledge exact of the armor being welded through the suitable identification, test of knowledge, alternating repair method of satisfaction for the particular type of the armor and type of the deflective of the question, design function of the damaged structure, selection, welding materials, repair procedure of the facility available to produce and optimum protective property of the structural strength, determination need for the emergency repair to meet the existing situation, careful analysis of the particular defect within the armor to ensure proper disposition of the variable listed below, joint penetration of the design, welding electrode, welding current, voltage, polarity, sequence of the welding pass, welding stress, warpage, F, the protection, removal of the flammable materials, equipment, and vicinity with the welding operation, advantage of welding expended with the field repair with the damage of the armor likely implying principally with the speed with the ease of the which for the operation can be performed, the welding can proceed with the making the repair of the field. Well, this basically with those same even the industrial fabrication must be modified at times because of the varying type of the damage due to the impact, such as the following: complete shell penetration, bulges, display section, surface gouging, linear cracks, various width of the terminating an armor, extending of the outer edge of the linear transverse cracks and or adjacent welding seams. Many repair of the welding require selective the use of the patch obtained with the cutting of the sections for the completely disabled armor vehicle having similar armor to plate with the almost welding with the welding arm patch along with the linear seam to perform under conditions frequently weld and permit the no motion of the base metal of the section yield the under contraction stress produced with the cooling welded metal with the stress problem, but it's further complicated with the stress produced with the projectiles physically drifting in the edge of the armor. The point of the impact of the penetration is that with all variables in mind with the subsequent plate welding procedure for the determined 1234, property for the armor plate. Armor plate is an air hardened alloy steel which means will harden with the normalizing heating of the upper critical point with the cooling and still air the base metal quenching effect with the produced adjacent to the welding heavy armor plate under normal welding conditions about halfway between the effect of the air cooling and the oil quenching. The extreme steep thermal gradients occurring with the region of the welded range from the temperature of 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit more on the welded metal to the original temperature of the base metal. Therefore, the narrow zone on each side of the deposit welded metal is heated above the critical temperature by the welding of the heat quenched with the relatively cold base metal to form hard brittle zone with a hard bronze projectile formation known as the marsenite. The cracks are more likely to occur with the result of the sudden application of load for the reason, but the special precautions must be taken in the welding operation to minimize the formation of the hardened zone to limit the effect of the structural properties of the welded armor. Care must be taken to prevent the cooling of the armor after the welding hour in order to avoid formation of the cracks in the hardened zone. General. There are two types of armor used for the combat vehicle: the homogeneous and cast or rolled face hardened roll. The essential of the armor specification identified with the for any weld in the cutting operation are performed. This is important because of the welding procedure. Each of the armor is distinctly different with the non-interchangeable. Homogeneous armor. Homogeneous armor is heat treated with the entire thickness of the develop with a good shape of the impact of the resisting properties, as the name it indicate the uniform hardness composition of structural throughout that can be welded with either side of the aluminum armor plate. As in homogeneous cast welding procedure, the same with the gas metal arc welding homogeneous armor, a base hardened armor plate with a hardened armor plate with extremely hard with a surface layer with the same with the carbonized which extend the depth of 1/5 to 1/4 of the outward thick face and facing thickness of the armor of the tank of the armored vehicle. Primary purpose of the face hardening armor with the provide with a good resistant penetration on the inner side with comparatively soft properties similar to those of the homogeneous armor of the inside outside of the face hardened with the armor plate with the two different kinds of steel. The face hardened steel up to 1/2 inch thickness and it should be welded with the soft side only. 1236 Identification Armor Plate File Tip. The test should be simple but the accurate method of identifying the armor. The plate file will bite the homogeneous armor plate on the both sides, but will only bite on the soft side of the face of the hardened armor plate. When applied with the face of the side of the file will slip, and acting on such of the manner within case of hardened steel. A bruising fracture. The metal edge of the holes of the crack of the homogeneous armor plate are ragged or bent, with the metal derivative of the direction from the force of the damage of the armor. The cracks of the homogeneous armor are usually caused by stress and present serve the bulge of bending of the plate, the section of the metal edge of the hole of the cracks, and the face hardened armor, the relatively clean cut with the sharp of the places do not bulge and get a great extent before cracking by examining the edge of the freshly broken face. Hardened armor that can be noted with the metal with the face of the side of the brighter and finer structure within the metal, the soft side of the brighter metal extend with the depth of approximately 1/5 to 1/4 inch of the thickness surface of the side. Cutting armor plate. Cutting homogeneous armor plate with a oxy cutting torch, which is the preferable electrical arc, can be used. The homogeneous armor plate covering arc can be used to cut out the welds and cut the casting of the plates, but shield metal arc preferred, but the oxygen settling are not available when not available. Are your cutting face and hardened armor plate with the procedure cutting with the type of the armor essentially with the same as the required with the homogeneous armor, except that every precaution should be taken to keep it the much heat with the way possible way with a hard save with the side of the plate with the accomplished performing all cutting operation with the soft side of the armor, thus limiting the extent of the heating of the consent softening in the hardened surfaces. Cutting with the oxygen torch. The general practice of the use of the oxygen torch cutting can be applied with the cutting armor plate with both the tip side of the cutting and the oxygen preheating of the gas temperature should be kept to a minimum consistent with a good quality of the cuts to prevent overheating when cutting in the stainless steel with the steel type of such as the UV tanks the armored vehicle to perform the oxygen cutting of the torch. The cutting torch process must be modified too, but it's necessary because of the stainless steel with the non-oxidizing metal. The cutting of the air being accomplished by using oxidizing steel rod in conjunction with the oxygen cutting torch. The oxygen compounds with the steel rod with the resultant evolution of the high temperature create with the high temperature molten steel with the end of the rod with the drop of the molten steel with the formed end of the rod wash off onto the weld to help melt it. This washing action is accomplished by oscillating motion of the torch tip, which tends to cause the molten metal welded metal to wash away with thin layers, which the thick layers are cut in the steel rod, which should be held against the side of the weld with the fed downward as required. The supply is sufficient heat with the oscillation motion should also be used with the aid of removal of the metal cutting process in which the steel rod is used to illustrate in figure 1213. Method of the cut in stainless steel. You have the steel rod, steel weld, the cutting tip of the motion of the cutting tip, molten slag, homogeneous armor plate, desired line of cut, directional cut, curve in the plate with the enlarged with the permit the entry of the steel rod and cutting tip. Alright, cracks or other defects of face of the stainless steel weld can be removed with holding the current tip of the slight angle of the face of the weld as shown in figure 1214. Reaction of the cutting oxygen steel rod developed in sufficient heat, the melting of the weld, the metal will wash away and the surface of the joint can be renewed. Shift the motion of the cutting tip steel rod with the heating flames cutting oxygen stream molten metal particle of the molten metal section across the groove in the weld arcs and the homogeneous armor plate. Cutting with an electrical arc group of the process whereby metal arc is using the heat with the maintained with the electrical base metal. There are three procedures to describe below. You've been cutting of the electric arc. Your carbon arc cutting is processed with the cutting of the metal with the effect of the progressive metal with the heating of the electric arc between the metal of the electrode and the base metal with the direct current straight polarity. Electrode negative is preferred with some of the conditioned carbon arc with the conjunction with the jet of the compressed air with the removal of the defect of the austenitic welded metal with the carbon arc is utilized with both the cutting and most furious, non-furious metal that does not produce the cut with particularly good appearance. With the electrodes are either carbon and graphite prefer or blue. The point end of the reduce the arc well wandering and produce less erratic cuts. Metal arc cutting process whereby cut is produced with progressively melting direct current straight polarity is preferred with a coated electrode ranging in the diameter 1/8 to 1/4 inch. With the large diameter non-satisfactory because of the excessive pattern of the thickness of the metal can be cut with the metal arc process if limited only with the useful length of the electrodes by attainable 14 to 18 inch lengths. Principal purpose of the electrode coating is to serve the insulator between the core of the electrode sidewall of the cut with the consequently with the cut with the less shorting circling against the curve of the cut provided with the metal arc cutting is less ragged than producing the carbon arc. Nevertheless, it is non-satisfactory for welding for further preparation by grinding and chiseling using current both ferrous and non-ferrous metals. Alright, your oxy arc cutting is accomplished by the direct stream of the oxygen into the molten metal with the pool is made with the cap of the molten with the arc struck between the base metal with the coated with the tubular coating rod, which is consumed during the cutting operation. The tubular rod provided with the oxidizing flux, meaning that the covering oxygen onto the surface being cut with the tubular coating electrode is made of mild steel with the possibility of contamination and eliminated with the combination of extremely high heat with the oxygen under pressure with the act together with the oxide of the rod and coating of the point of the arc between the rod metal with the fused with the base metal. After completing the cut of the arc prodding process with the rough edges adhering the slag will remove the hammer and chipping of the grinding prior to the welding. Alright, welding homogeneous armor plate. Welding damage armored vehicle in the field required with the preliminary type of the armor to identify the method described in paragraph 1236, page 1233. Homogeneous armor plate with a satisfactory weld using the arc welding process 18-8 stainless steel heavy coated with the electrode various variety armored vehicles have been exposed to the condition extreme cold that should not be welded to the base metal with position with the preheated within temperature of the base metal with the zone with the welding up to at least 100 degrees Fahrenheit. This is temperature of the metal when the zone is fully warm to the touch of preheat. If it is not applied, the cracking will occur with the deposit of the welded metal. Procedure well when simple cracks are welded at the edge of the craft, it should be beveled with the mean with the flame cutting with the double the V with the joint. Care should be taken around the corners of the toe with the root of the joint with the necessary to eliminate the excessive dilution with the welded metal base for the metal with the welding in these points, and the included angle bevel in approximately 45 degrees provide electrode clearance, making the root welding of the beads. Root opening should be from 3/16 to 5/16 depending on the plate thickness, and then it shows your root opening. Preparation welding cracks and homogeneous armor plates. The welded deposit of the root with the weld must be welded with good quality, with the essential with the care must be taken to prevent cracks, oxide, slag, inclusion, complete penetration with excessive welded metal to the dilution in the air. Some of the figure, some in the methods recommended with the prior step of the root bead. Root head welding is shown in figure 1216 with a narrow root opening of 3/16 with the stainless steel electrode with the coating with it can be tacked in place. Welding beads number 1, 2, 3, and 4 deposited in the order, and all slags, oxides should be removed with the joint before the beads number 3 and 4 deposited in a sphere of sound weld in the zone of the metal. The mild steel should be rod or stripped instead of the stainless steel of the rod. And the backside of the backing rod of the strip that should be chipped out after beads 1 and 2 are deposited to minimize dilution with the beads 3 and 4. They use the stainless steel strip at the back of the root beads in the beads. Alternate method of the mild steel strip is shown figure 8 and shown at D figure 1216. Alternate method using back rod stripping should be tripped after depositing beads 3 and 4 after procedures copper backing and bar. Method E figure 1216 copper bars are removed the bead after beads 1 and 2 are deposited. Beads will not be welded in bars. Beads 3 and 4 then are deposited in certain cases of the plates of the homogeneous armor are cracked along the entire length. Thus, the permitting easy access of the entire cross section of the plate. Another method of joint preparation can be used. The beads deposited of the root bevel backing on the beads subsequently deposited. Backing of the depositing methods as the root. Major factor considered welding cracking the armor terminate with a plate with a weld create the fusion zone, especially in the foot of the bead with the intermittent backstep overlap. Achieve with the recommended overcome the void that has with the noted that all the welding except necessary with the complete with the bead and with the complete with the bead before the bead number 2 is started by backstepping the path with the greater and each of the paths of the location previously deposited the metal, therefore the less subject to the cracking. All greater greater subsequent paths that do not terminate the previously deposited metal should be filled with a hesitation drawback technique to avoid formation of the star cracks, which are caused by solidification shallow deposits of molten metal. And then each pass beads 1, 2, and 3, and 4 is limited with 1 and 2 inch length. It should be pinged welded with metal with this hot to overcome the cooling strip. The now electrode weaving motion should be used when root beads are deposited. The welding should be performed preferably with a 5/32 inch electrode. Pinging also tended to eliminate and minimize warpage in sections being welded. Arc blows should be continued controlled properly. Adjacent welding. Some of the more common defects encountered welding root beads with homogeneous armor plate with a proper medial procedure shown in figure 1218. Your sequence welding beads, the procedure recommended complete with a welded single V joint shown in figure 1219. Welding should be perpendicular in 5/32, 3/16 with the electrode directly against the side of the weld joint formed at angle approximately 20 to 30 degrees vertical with the electrode should be inclined with 5 to 15 degrees in the direction of the weld. By procedure, the side wall preparation can be effective to control the electrode weaving should not exceed 2.5 times the electrode core wire diameter, and this is important because of the stainless steel with the coefficient expansion of the approximately 1 1/2 times the less metal steel. Consequently, the weaving motion greater than the recommended using longitudinal shrinkage cracks welded and fusion zone may develop in thickness of the layer of the metal with the deposit vary with the control speed of the welding. Sequence of passes with a completely filled with a double V joint with a determine the conservation foregoing factors, the depth of the penetration weld of the metal with the base metal controlled in order to obtain with a good fusion without excessive dilution of the weld. Excessive dilution will cover the weld to non-stainless brittle with the subject of the cracking. Proper penetration will produce long scalp, the heat affected zone on each side of the weld. Insufficient penetration will produce the fairly straight edge height heat affected zone on each side of the weld. The condition is undesirable from the standpoint of the good ballistic properties. By alternating the deposition of the metal first on one side of the joint and then on the other, the colors control heat input of the joint to move the joint with the shape of the welded structure, maintain each layer of the metal deposit with the surface of the stress relieve the welded metal immediately beneath, will also partially temper the heat affected zone produced in the base metal, but the previous welded metal will pass to the top of each of the welded layers, serve the annealing path the deposited before the intermediate passes added completely fill the intervening spaces. See past 9, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 18, 20, etc. Figure 20. With these annealing passes, important factors eliminating the fusion zone cracks that might start with the surface of the weld. They're carefully controlling the depth of the penetration heat affected zone with the scalloped effect of the produced. Emergency repairs can be cracked armor can be made by using butt straps back of the cracked armor. The primary purpose of these butt straps is strengthen the section, weaken the crack. And then it shows these back straps of the cracked armor. Alright, repairing penetration, complete penetration, homogeneous armor plate repair with the use of the procedure of 1222 through 1224, pages 1244 through 1245. The considerable structural damage due to the immediate metal immediately adjacent to the shell. Penetration 1223, 1240, page 1244. Sufficient armor metal plate should be removed to complete the freedom of the protrusion subsurface crack with a good contact with the floor between the plate and base armor plate shown in the figure 2012, 22, 1244. The protection penetration object opens large relatively thickness of the plate with a plunge patch. The homogeneous armor having the same thickness of the base metal the plug patch should be shaped well placed and shown in figure 1224 page 1245. Small diameter penetrations armor repair with a plug welding without using small patches, and then it shows 1224 and 1225. Repairing bulges in Army that are cracked but do not interfere with the operation internal mechanism of the vehicle that can be repaired with welding crack section using a procedure previously described in the section for the best repair without the bulge should be cut out with a patch insertion of the bulge to interfere with the operation internal mechanism of the grinding or chipping the bulge surface that can be applied to the removing interference with all of the cause of the weld should be made with the full thickness of the plate and all cracks over 1/4 inch width of the chip over the other before re-welding. Repair made on the one side of the non-feasible to make the welding from the both side of the armor to just most necessary of the made from the figure 1219 page 1241. Either butt strap stainless strip of the strip can be used for the back for the roots of the welded beads. Repairs of the non-welded butt strap with the application of the butt strap with the interview with the operation internal mechanism technique used to permanent removal of the butt strap after the welding. Figure 1225 the figure welding technique to develop the permanent welding single V groove with a homogeneous armor plate without welding the butt strap with the deposit of welded metal involved with the changing of the angle of the electrode held during the side-to-side weave of the motion, which is used to make the root pass, increasing the angle of the proximity of the degree of the vertical middle of the wheel to increase the weave speed simultaneously with the deposit welded with the previously deposited metal at each end of the weaving the speed of the electrode decreased while simultaneously increasing the electrode angle approximately 15 degrees vertical with the electrode itself with the adjacent side walled monetarily with each inch of the good wall penetration. After buzzing root pass butt strap can be removed with the breaking of the tack weld securely in the bottom face of the armor. Desired with the finish and pass can be applied with the root of the weld after the butt strap. Repairing gouges. When armor is struck with a projectile impacting an angle, the gauge gouged on the surface of the gouge should be prepared with a double V joint design allowing the weld to welding from both sides. More merely filling the gouge will the welding material satisfactory procedure does not remove any of the subsurface cracks that may be caused by the shell impact. Also, the heat affected zone produced by the base is filled with the gouge has poor ballistic strength. Alright, welding hardened armor plate. Face hardened armor plate can be welded satisfactorily using the arc welding process 18-8 stainless steel with a heavy coated electrodes reverse polarity. The face side of the side face hardened armor is extremely hard and brittle. Special precautions have been taken to avoid excessive heating the distortion over the place to prevent the cracking to the face due to the resulting strap of the satisfactory method of the weld. The type of the armor makes the butt strap with the plug weld. The technique of the welding procedure of the face hardened armor varying from 1/4 to 1.1 inch with the thickness illustrating figure 1227, 1228, pages 1250. Welding on is done on from the soft side of the armor plate, with the strength of the joint depends on the soundness of the plug strap and plug weld. The butt strap should be conformed to the dimension of the particular thickness. Face hardening armor being warm welded. Butt strap to tack weld the soft side of the armor through the elongated slots for the cut in the strap. The plugs are then be welded completely in fill slots without successful reinforcement undercutting into the surface of the plug. The precautions necessary to limit the disturbance that discontinues the acts of stress razors are as source of crack and formation impact load. The effective seal of the crack of the hardened armor against spatter and water tightness required the seal head of the weld should be made on soft side ground flush before applying with the butt strap. All welding should be performed on a clean, scale-free surface. The previously deposited welded metal should be thoroughly cleaned and chipping the wire brush with removing slag, oxygen, and ensure the sound welds. Arc greater cracks eliminated by backstep overlap procedure of the extruded hesitation drawback, electrode hesitation drawback technique. Greater cracks form with initial welded passes chipped out with the before additional welded metal with the ply can be welded successfully on subsequent passes of the weld. For the precaution, string beads shall be used with the initial passes of the subsequent passes not weave the electrode more than 2.5 electrode core wire diameters. The efficiency of the joint weld of the method depends on the good fusion of the base metal with the slab walls of the slot and the butt strap. The straighten necessary. Do not hammer the face of the armor. All hammering should be done on the soft side on the butt strap on the plug, and welds and force should not be applied with the straightened face armor in the applied force will produce hard tension on the face side. When 2 or more butt straps are used, the regular repair irregular cracks or to make the patch weld. The butt straps are welded together in additional strength. And then it shows that and that and this. Alright, although the butt strap method is satisfactory repairing damaged face with a hardening up to 1 inch of the thick, heavier this usually is only with the thickness of up to including 1/2 inch armor plate with another except the projection welded face hardened armor plate with 1/2 inch thick is double the V joint requiring soft side complete with the weld with any with the welding attempt at the face side plate by using string or bead welding back of the overlap passing root bass danger of cracking is held to a minimum. Additional passes can run straight out, but however no weaving should be used with the type of the joint in order to keep the surface free of the warpage address. Depressed joint method is modified procedure. The welding face hardened armor plate with including a 1/2 inch thickness. This joint may be using stainless steel 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch in cross section. Principal advantages of the joint and simplicity, good structure and ballistic properties. Care should be taken. No welding is done on the hard face to side. Alright, Alright, armor plate welding electrodes. Most satisfactory method of repair homogeneous face hardened armor plate with the arc welding process. Stainless steel electrodes. Oxyacetylene welding process required with the heating a large section of the base metal with either side of the preparation joint method. Maintain welding pool with the sufficient side of the joint with the welded satisfactory heating of destroy with the heating treatment and ported with the armor plate causing the large area to become weak structurally, ballistically, and additional procedure slow procedure considerably warped welding section. Initial development is armor plate welding specified in stainless steel electrodes containing 25% chromium, 20% nickel, and the effect of the conserved chromium and nickel electrode containing 18% chromium and 8% nickel. The core wire with a small percent with either manganese, or molybdenum, or both added with the coating of the procedure. The excellent result of the electrode with the recommended with the welding all type of the armor plate with the electric arc process for the preheating of the post-heating of the structure weld that should be all positioned by conventional electrodes known as the magnesium modified with the 18-8 stainless steel molybdenum modified 18-8 stainless steel electrodes. Current polarity recommended wire coating setting listed or direct current reverse polarity all position heavy coated modified 18-8 stainless steel electrodes. Set current requirements will be governed with some extent of the joint type, electrode design, and position of the weld. Electrode diameter 1/8 90 to 100, 532 110 to 130 amps. Electrode requirements. Field repairs units require various types of electrodes approximately following requirements: 1/8 of an inch percent of the electrode 20, 532 of an inch 60, and 3/16 20. In order to strengthen and rivet the joints in the armor plate have been made with the button head rivet the seal bead weld and recommended that the arc struck with the top of the rivet the stainless steel electrode held there for sufficient length of the time melt with approximately 1/2 inch of the electrode and beads deposited all along the curved surface of the rivet. The armor plate with continued around the edge of the rivet. The rivet is completely welded to the armor plate. The sealed welded prevents the rivet head from being sheared off with the shank of the rivet of the being punched through the plate with the countersunk. Rivet is sealed with the manner the rivet's joints may be. The hardened armor should be sealed welded only on the soft side of the plate. And that was section 7 of chapter 12. Testing.